Hey there. Let's talk about self-care, or however you may want to refer to it. Self-love, self-care, but basically it is making yourself a priority. That's what we're going to talk about today. My definition of self-care that I like to use is taking an active role to protect my well-being. And when we look at that definition, the words that I like to focus on are active. So that means I need to do something. I can't just think about it. There has to be some action. And to protect is me keeping harm away from myself. So taking an active role to prevent harm to myself in that realm that I have control over. And then well-being. My well-being includes physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, even financial. So today I want to share with you what I have developed on my journey. So remember, this is my journey I'm sharing with you, hopefully to encourage or just to have you think about your journey and things that you can implement in your life, because the goal is for us to design the life that we want, not what we have grown up to believe it has to be. So we're going to deconstruct some things, and today I want to deconstruct self-care and what that means. I want you to consider what your daily life looks like when you don't prioritize yourself and implement self-care as a lifestyle. You operate in stress. Your body functions at a high level of fight, flight, or freeze. Now, our bodies are equipped for a healthy level of stress. So that fight or flight state happens sometimes. If you hear a noise, you like take that moment to stop, listen. Like, what is that? Okay, yeah, that's that healthy fight or flight. But we are not designed to stay in that mode every day, right? Think of a car that is idling. It's real high idling. It can't stay in that idle state and then perform through the whole drive. That's what our body is doing. And so when we're not implementing some overall well-being into our life daily as a lifestyle, our body stays in a heightened level of stress. And when we're in that heightened level of stress, guess what happens? Disease, sickness, illness, and just your overall life is negatively impacted. Now, that's with no self-care. Who wants to live like that? That impacts your quality of life, and not in a good way. So when we do add these different types of self-care, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, into our life, it's the exact opposite. You take that, flip it 180 degrees, reduce stress, the prevention of illnesses and diseases, overall well-being impacted positively, physically, mentally, emotionally, and just our quality of life improves. Now, self-care is different for everyone. It looks different for everyone because you'll see in some parts or some elements. Again, I'm going to break it down into how I have implemented physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and I'm going to throw in financially. And when I implement these different things into my life, it truly impacts it in a positive way. And then it also creates an awareness within that I realize when I'm not operating with prioritizing what's best for me. Because what we do every day is we give and give and give and pour out. We don't have to try to remember to do that. We're operating in that. But sometimes if I get a little low on my self-care and my cup is low, it shows in different ways. But that's a level of self-awareness that you will reach when you are conscious about this. You got to prioritize yourself. You must put yourself first. So just think about it. If you don't prioritize you, who will? I want you to keep 3 things in mind as we talk about self-care. 1, it is intentional. It's not haphazard. It's something that you have to really give yourself permission to implement it into your lifestyle. Self-care is a lifestyle, so it's going to require some action. So what does that look like? It's different for everyone. You may literally have to put it on your to-do list. If this is something that is new for you and you're going through this mindset shift of giving yourself permission to do so, put it on your calendar. Make it happen. Next, self-care is for you, provided by you. That goes back to the prioritization of it in your life. You cannot expect anyone else to come and prioritize you for you. All right, so we have it's intentional and it's provided by you. And the last thing that I want you to keep in mind, these 3 points as I share this with you, self-care is not selfish. How can taking care of you be selfish? And if for some reason your mind just cannot grasp that it's not selfish, give yourself to be selfish to take care of you. Be selfish. There's nothing wrong with it at all, because it is equipping you that you are able to function at an optimum level on this journey of life. That is self-care. I know you've heard the phrase, when we know better, we do better, but we don't always do that. Sometimes in our big age as adults, we operate like our children. If you are a parent or even work with kids at any time, you know that sometimes kids will do things and they know better. And you'll say, now you know better. Why did you do that? Or why didn't you do this? We're the same way, because you're going to see that when it comes to what we need to do for self-care, for our quality of life, it probably isn't new. You've probably heard it or seen it. You're aware of it, but really we choose not to do it. And I say it's a choice because it's an active choice. It's a conscious choice that has to be made, but we don't do it. So again, these are my things that I do, and hopefully it'll give you some insight into something you may want to incorporate, because again, self-care looks different from everyone because we have different interests. So I have some notes here. I was surprised kind of when I wrote this down, because I didn't consciously think about it since I've incorporated these into my life. It's been a few years now, but I have notes, so I'll be looking down so I can share these with you. So first, when it comes to physical, now we all know we should drink water. That is not new. Drinking water. And I'll tell you, that's something that I struggle with. It's a challenge to this day. Now I get water in my coffee, although some people say it doesn't count. It counts for me in my tea, in my smoothies. But to simply just carry like a bottle of water, or I know sometimes people use those jugs that have the time of day, like a thermos bottle, each time of day what you should drink. That just doesn't work for me. And what I think I've recently realized is I do better in small amounts. So like right now, I have water here in my little cup. So my challenge now is to drink 3 bottles. That'll get me like at 64 ounces. So right now I put them on my desk in the morning and I pour them in this cup, and it's like 8 ounces. And that's how I'm getting through the day now. So I want to be consistent with that for a while before I add in additional ounces. But that's what's working for me now. I'm telling you, drinking water, we know we should, but it can be challenging, but it's a conscious decision. And I'm always telling myself, no, Teresa, you're choosing not to. And sometimes I talk back and say, well, you're right. The next physical self-care is movement. We need to move our bodies. We know that, right? But often we don't. And you know what we'll say? Well, I don't have time. You got time to live? You got time to live a good quality life? Because you're going to have time to be sick, right? So move our bodies. And what does that look like? For me, I walk. I'm starting to get back into it more. I'm starting with 30 minutes a day. I don't run. I don't run. But you can. I have a philosophy for running. If I was meant to run, I'd have 4 legs. I have 2, so I walk. And I also like to jump rope. So I've incorporated that back into my life of jump roping. And there are other things you can do for movement. I know a friend who dances, and they do the TikTok dance where they're learning this and they do a lot of movement. And she talks about how exhilarating she feels, but then she's also a little tired and sweats as she's learning these dances. Do you? But move your body. The next thing I have is take a nap. Napping is my love language. I have always taken naps. I don't remember when I didn't take a nap. Every day. Yep, she's gonna lay down, close her eyes, and go to sleep. In addition to that, getting enough sleep. When we are asleep, there is research that shows that our brains benefit from that actual nap because it gets a quiet period of time to recover, especially since the way we are moving and hustling and bustling in this world today. So yeah, I take a nap. I get my sleep. I love to take baths. I like for my body to sit. I just like to relax overall. So I have my Epsom salt, and I have some bath things also that I put in the water. But I love some bubbles, but I love a bath. Also, we know that we should eat nutritious meals. So I'm not about these different diets and fads and all of that. But what I tell you what I will do is I eat for my blood type, and that's a whole nother thing. But when I do find, like if I want some comfort food, like my lemon pepper wings from Wingstop, I eat them. I try not to eliminate 100% of things that sometimes will bring me joy, but I don't do it all the time. But I eat meat, like I have 3 wings left over right now from yesterday. But eat nutritious meals. So, more veggies, more greens, decrease the sugar. We know to do this, but it may take some meal planning or making that decision beforehand of what to eat when you go out. But again, it's a decision. And when you decide that you want your quality of life to change, these are little incremental steps that we can take for that to happen. You don't have to just do everything at one time, like stop today. Decrease until you have this habit, and then move to something else. Another thing is to go outside. I like to go outside, get some vitamin D, but what I don't do is hiking. I'm not somebody who be trekking. I accidentally went on a hike maybe a month ago when I was on vacation. I thought I was going to view waterfalls, but it was a hike. I'm not a nature person. For me, outside sometimes is a body of water, a pool, an ocean, maybe, I like that. Next I have on my list sometimes is doing a hobby or something like that. And I had to think recently, what are my hobbies? And so I love to read, but what I have found is that I do more nonfiction reading, and I want to get back into fiction reading where my mind is really just relaxed, reading a storyline, a good plot. So what is it that you like to do? What hobby did you used to do as a child or early adulthood, and now with the hustle and bustle, you've just stopped? Think about that. I know some people like to do that adult coloring. That makes me anxious. I cannot do that. That's why you have to determine what works for you. Try new things if you haven't, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's okay. Just like some of the ideas that I'm sharing. If you want to try some, try some. And let me tell you what else I learned after 2020. I need comfortable clothes and shoes. I didn't realize how that impacted me physically, but also you will see some of these overlap into your mental and emotional well-being as well. Because when you eat right, you drink your water, that will also impact you mentally and emotionally, possibly. So let's see. I also have, I like aromatherapy. So aromatherapy helps me physically as well as it intersects and crosses with emotional and mental. So I have diffusers, I use candles, but aromatherapy is good for me. Um, those are the things that I've jotted down physically. So for my physical well-being, we have to understand that our physical health, it improves our energy levels, it boosts our mood, and again, it's a component of increasing our overall quality of life. So now I'm gonna move into my mental health. And as I talk about my mental self-care, most of these are both mental and emotional, so keep that in mind. One thing I do is I journal. I don't journal every day anymore. There was a time when I journaled every single day, but now I'd say I probably journal 3 or 4 times out of the week. And it is something for me. I guess I use my journal in different ways at different times. So I use it for gratitude, just to be thankful, list out. I call it manna sometimes. So it's like my that's church girl coming out in me when the people were in the desert, the Israelites, and they were provided manna like for guidance. So sometimes when good things happen to me and I want to record it, I write manna and write it in my journal, in addition to my gratitude or what I was grateful for. Because I usually try to do the gratitude earlier, like in the morning, in my morning meditation. And meditation is something else. So, but I'll do the journaling and I'll put my gratitude. And then throughout the day, if something like, if I just get a parking space in the front at Costco, put it in my journal. Manna, that's my manna for the day. But gratitude, definitely. Oh, this right here is critical. Feel your feelings. This impacts you emotionally and mentally. As an emotional intelligence coach, I can tell you many people don't feel feelings. And I'm talking about many of us black folk, black women, definitely black men. And it is attributed to how we were raised. You don't feel your feelings. You were a child and you cried about something. It's like, shut up, buttercup, be quiet. That don't hurt, move on. Like, we were not explicitly taught to feel our feelings, identify our feelings. We were not given the tools to regulate our feelings. So now in our big age, that is something that we have to unlearn and relearn. And it can be challenging, but it's important that we learn to acknowledge and validate our feelings and take the time to learn to express your feelings. I find that this shows up a lot in our relationships, both personally and professionally, with that inability to feel your feelings. And it's attached to so many things: self-awareness, communication, conflict management, all the above, all of it. Feelings, feel them, validate them, express them. And a great exercise to use in a journal, maybe not daily, especially if journaling is not, a habit for you yet. But when you find that you have big emotions, maybe something happened at work or day to day with a friendship, a relationship, at home, whatever, in your journal, identify your emotion. What do you feel? And then write down the emotion. Because what I have found is that sometimes we can't even identify the emotion we're feeling because we have not felt emotions. We don't know what it is. Am I upset? Am I mad? Am I annoyed? We don't know. So sometimes we have to, again, take the time to determine what is the feeling and then where did it come from? Because sometimes in the moment we are triggered, that emotion is triggered from maybe a current situation, but really the issue is attached to something that has happened previously that we suppressed, and now that emotion comes up. Because once we experience an emotion, whether you expressed it or not, it's still there. It's in our emotional brains. Whole nother subject. Let me keep moving. But in your journal, identify the emotion. Where did it come from? And also identify, where do you feel it in your body? Because that goes back to your physical self-care. Because you feel stuff like I feel mine right here. I know I need to stretch a bit more. That's something that I didn't mention. I do a lot of stretches now, especially in this big age. I got to stretch this body. So that is something to do when it comes to the mental, emotional. Feel your feelings and breathe. Deep breaths in and out throughout the day. Yes. I also have aromatherapy, which I shared physically. It impacts me physically and emotionally. I need the sense. Also, I take the time to listen to podcasts. So when I'm walking, I'll often have a podcast on or something that just interests me, which goes to that part of hobbies. So I like to read. I may not be able to read, but I can listen to a podcast or listen to an audiobook. So these are some things that I do, and that helps me mentally and emotionally as well. Therapy. Get you some therapy. There are so many ways now to access therapy. There are a lot of programs out here. And if you're in the workplace, you might want to look to see what's available for you, because I find that many organizations provide the AEP, I think that's what it's called, EAP, where you can have a certain amount of services for therapy. It is not related to your work. It is a benefit, and we don't take care of those benefits. We don't take advantage of the benefit. Look into that. I avoid toxic people. It's a no for me. When anyone who's toxic or negative, I no longer associate. Which takes me to, I say no without feeling guilty. No is a complete sentence, and that can be hard if you're a people pleaser. And most times we were raised, be kind, be nice, do stuff for people. So it's really hard. It is a challenge, but in baby steps, you can say no. And you don't have to say no. Let's say if someone asks you to go somewhere to do something, you don't have to say no because you're doing something else. You can say no because you don't want to do nothing. Nothing is some self-care. Doing nothing is productive. So let's see. I also have for my mental and emotional, I declutter. Like sometimes I notice my space has gotten too much stuff in it, or the junk drawers. I have to declutter something. I have to rearrange. So like sometimes in my room, I have to rearrange. If it's just like moving a chair from one spot to the other, it helps my mind. I brain dump. Again, I use my journal for that. Sometimes if I can't sleep, I just write down what's on my mind. I remember when I was younger, my mom used to say at night, the oddest things just goes across her mind. So I use my journal to brain dump, get that out so that I can get that adequate sleep that I like to get. I also have that I like to do crossword puzzles. Now, I don't do as many hard copy. I have a couple of apps that I can do crossword puzzles, word searches, and Sudokus. I like that. Dinner with friends. So one thing about me is she's an introvert. I don't like to be around a bunch of people for a long period of time. Large crowds, they drain my energy, but my circle I enjoy. So I do associate with my circle of friends. I like that. I meditate. And I think that's all I have for mental and emotional. So let's move to financial. When you have financial self-care habits, it really impacts your emotional and mental in a positive way as also. So I have basically created a budget. And before you create that budget, you need to create or track your expenses. Where are you spending money? So if you just take the time to, however you choose, you can write it. There are many apps nowadays to track your spending. From tracking your spending, create your budget. From your budget, savings account, where do you want money to go? It can be eye-opening if you look at your funds on a consistent basis and see where you're spending money. I do what I have Financial Friday, because on Fridays, that's my wind down from the week. I don't do a lot of activity on Friday. Take my bath early, I relax, get my phone, look at my account. I have my Google Sheet that I use, and I have an app. So I just kind of look at what's going on and just be sure I'm on track of goals that I have set as far as saving for different things and what's coming in and out of my account. And I do that on Fridays, and I actually caught some money coming out one time that shouldn't be. So yeah, financial self-care impacts your overall well-being. And the last but not least, because I know this looks like it's going to be a long video, is my spiritual self-care. So when we talk about spiritual self-care, it is not necessarily religious, but it is a connection or understanding that there's something greater than you. There's something greater than me, something greater than ourselves. So for me, I meditate, I pray, I express gratitude as soon as I open my eyes. I am thankful for this day. I am thankful what this day is going to unfold. And I'm thankful that I am equipped, that I will be able to encounter challenges, and I will express, regulate, and acknowledge my feelings throughout this day. So that's part of what I do and say in the morning. Pray. Then I have a meditation. I kind of incorporate my meditation and my stretching together when in the morning. So meditation, all different types. Do a little research, because that's one thing I know we do. All this technology, we research stuff. So get on the University of YouTube, research some meditation, what that looks like. And again, when we're trying new things, it may not work at first. When you're meditating, your mind gonna go all over the place. What you're gonna cook, what's for groceries, what shows you want to watch. Just keep practicing, and eventually you'll have this mindset shift, and you'll be able to really recognize the goodness of meditation. I listen to worship music in the morning, usually while I'm showering or something, and a daily devotion. My daily devotion of choice is Jesus Calling. I think it's Jesus is Calling or Jesus Calling. So I need these things. Now, I don't have a rigid routine in the morning where boom, 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 boom. These things are done in the morning before I start my day because it grounds me. And there are times, and I do this as I'm doing things. So when I'm making my smoothie, physical, I may have my worship music playing or whatever music that I want to play. Let me just rephrase and say, sometimes it's worship, sometimes it's not, but the lyrics are always positive and uplifting. So sometimes I do two things at once in the morning. So those are my different self-care habits and techniques that I have in my life. I want you to think about one, if you have a self-care technique, put it down in a comment, because maybe it's something that can inspire someone else. Or if you really have never considered making it a lifestyle and you want to start, what is one thing you will start with? And drop that in the comment. I want you to remember that self-care is not selfish. Give yourself permission to prioritize you, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to put your mask on first so you can then take care of others. You know, we hear flight attendants say that message, and that is a life message for us. So make self-care a priority, nurture yourself, and then you are equipped to nurture others effectively. All right, thanks for being here with me today. You know, I need a favor. Like the video. Leave that comment, because we are helping each other in this community. And then share it. Share this video to someone. They may find some benefit, or it'll be quite valuable for them. Thanks for watching to the end, and bye.